You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily represent those of the network, its advertisers, owners, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynn Galadner, a writer, entrepreneur, and change maker, and I've dedicated my life to sharing stories of how people make meaning in their work and find purpose in their lives. You just heard a great original composition by my son, Asher Schreiber. This podcast highlights some of the great ideas and activities people do every day to make the world a better place. So much of the meaning we find comes from interacting with great people, developing relationships that are mutually beneficial, and doing work that inspires. I hope you'll be inspired by the people you meet on this podcast. We all need to find a way to make meaning in the mundane. I'd like to welcome Jackson Riegler to the Make Meaning podcast. Jackson is founder and CEO of Oshki Merchandise, an apparel company he started last summer after he finished his junior year of high school. Welcome to Make Meaning, Jackson.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Lynn.
Yeah, I'm so inspired by you. Are you 18 now?
Yeah, I just turned 18 in March.
Happy birthday. So you're 18, you're graduating high school, you're going to Michigan. Go Blue, right?
Yes, correct. Go Blue.
I'm an alum, so I'm pretty proud of that. That's awesome.
Awesome.
So I want to hear what inspired you to create your company. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I've always been interested in the idea of entrepreneurship and really applying your passions to the business world. That kind of started in the beginning of high school. I started reading books about Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, some of the top entrepreneurs in the world today. And just they all had varying passions, and they weren't all the same or in the same field, but just the way they attacked what they believed in and really pushed through with their beliefs and their dreams really inspired me to do something like that on my own. And so I've always loved the Great Lakes. It's always been a huge part of my life. Back to when I was a little kid, I remember my mom, I would be out in the lake either fishing or just trying to catch little creatures with a net that I would always take everywhere. And I can remember her not being able to get me off the water ever. And that's really transferred over to what I do in my apparel brand, Oshki. So when I started it in March. Well, I started in July, but I came up with the idea in March. And in the news at that time, in March 2017, it was really big news about the Trump administration, the proposed budget cuts that were for Great Lakes funding, as well as the ongoing threats of both the Line 5 pipeline bursting, as well as Asian carp is an ongoing threat. And so I just really saw those three threats as something that people should be taken seriously. And I know a lot of people, even living in Muskegon, that aren't really aware of the magnitude of these risks and what they could do to the Great Lakes. And so I decided I was going to start something that would help the Great Lakes. And so I decided to donate 5% of all proceeds to the Alliance for the Great Lakes, which is a nonprofit located headquartered in Chicago. But they had an office in Muskegon, and then I do beach cleanup events with them in the summer. Where we pick up garbage off the beach and they organize them all over the state. And so, that's what inspired me to start Oshki in the first place. I just kind of looked up I think it has a good meaning because Oshki means fresh in Native American Ojibwa, and the Ojibwa tribe was native to the Great Lakes region. And, just the idea that we kind of revolve around the lakes, that the lakes don't revolve around us.
Right.
That's, a real importance that people have to realize. And that's why I started Oshki in the first place.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. It's so impressive. Just to be a teenager and I'm just going to start a company, and you do. And it not only has cool apparel, but, that part of the profits goes to protecting the Great Lakes is a beautiful concept. I grew up in the Metro Detroit area and love going up north and spending time, especially on Lake Michigan shore. And, I've never understood how people can take our natural resources for granted and for their own use and not think about the potential long-term impact of destroying our habitat. I understand that we need other resources. We need oil or gas or whatever. And so pipelines make sense, but it has never made sense to me to run them on the bottom of the lake bed and not think that that's going to corrupt the fresh water. So, I'm heartened to see a younger generation with so much hope and promise to maybe change our tomorrow. So I really commend you on being a leader in that movement.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think, whenever you're thinking about what you want to do with your life or whatever, I think it should always be correlated to leaving a better tomorrow for the future ahead of us, because only after so long can you continually leave a negative future for the people that come after us. And I think that's an important thing for me, is you have to make people look forward to the future rather than dread it. And any way that you can do that through, charitable donations or, there's a million ways to do things, but honestly, positive change in society, there's so many ways that people can get involved. And I think it's just really an important thing for sure.
Yeah, it's great. So, where did you get this entrepreneurial spirit? Were you inspired by your parents, or are there people in your life that really sort of motivated you to take these plunges and make a difference?
Well, I can remember it's always been something in my heart ever since I was a little kid. I can remember starting my own lemonade stand, which is like, your classic little kid's first business, but it's actually something that I really devoted my time to in my elementary years as a kid. And also my grandpa, he owns a steel business and a very successful steel business in Muskegon. And I just, through him, he just really opened my eyes to some of the the ways that you can show your passion through business. And he's someone that, I've always looked up to, as well as my parents. My mom's self-employed as an architect, and my dad's always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So just really the influences in my life, as well as just really starting to read books about, your top guys and Steve Jobs and stuff. It always just appealed to me ever since I was a little kid, for sure.
That's awesome. That's very cool. So I noticed that you said one of your inspirations is the founder of Patagonia, which is so ironic because it was just recently that the New York Times did a huge piece in the Sunday business section about Patagonia, and really how they have this foundation, and they're suing the president because of some of the acts that he's initiating against some of the national parks. So if you haven't seen that article, you should look it up. It's a humongous article. It's like 3 pages.
I have seen that article. Yvon Chouinard, that's his name. I became first interested in him through his book, as well as he has an NPR How It's Made interview that I listened to as well. And he really fights for things on the political side lately, especially through the Trump administration. But just, the way that he just stands up for what he believes in, regardless of the potential consequences. I think it's definitely an inspiring thing for environmentalists.
Yeah.
So that's someone I've always looked up to.
Well, it's funny because right after I read the article, I actually reached out to Patagonia to see if their new CEO would do an interview for this podcast. And, we haven't launched yet. So when we do launch in July of 2018 and, we'll build up a presence and a brand awareness, I'm hoping that I'll go back and they'll say, now we know who you are, so we'll do an interview. But I just was so inspired by even, the people go to the company because of the values as opposed to because of the money that they'll make. I mean, they will make money because they're doing good things, but I think corporate values make a huge difference. And so I'm interested to see where you go in your future career. If this is the start of it, of course, I'm sure you'll scale great heights. So in that mode, I'm wondering what's next for you. I know you're going to Michigan in the fall. What's your hope for what you'd like to study there?
I'll probably study LS&A and then do a dual minor at the business school.
Okay.
That's probably what I'm looking forward to doing. And then really just LS&A, they give you a lot of options to kind of work around like what you're passionate about. So I can take certain electives that are environmentally based, as well as an entrepreneurial minor that is one of the top in the country actually there.
Fabulous.
And just really, it gives you a lot of leeway at University of Michigan to really revolve around what you're passionate about. And
that's awesome.
There's so much potential to get involved in clubs as well. There's environmentalist clubs. There's business-oriented finance clubs. A lot of university-funded programs there that help kids like me who are interested in business really thrive in that environment. So I'm excited to go that route next year. And then for the future, there's a million ideas I have. So just a lot of potential through the University of Michigan that enables me to have a better future.
That's awesome. So I want to ask you, by the way, growing up right on the shores of Lake Michigan, what kind of water sports are your favorites?
I love paddle boarding as well as just boating in general.
Okay.
Paddle boarding is just probably my top one. I have my own paddleboard and I have a truck too, so I just throw it back there and drive to the beach all the time at summer mornings. And it's my favorite around 9 to 10 a.m. It's really clear and calm, and you can see schools of fish. And I love going on the water.
That's awesome. That's
sure.
very cool. So I think I'd like to ask you what advice you might have for our listeners about how to make meaning in your life, whether it's in work that you do or your daily life. What advice do you have for people about how they can make meaning?
I would say don't fake it. In the way social media works in society altogether, kind of is to kind of paint yourself after someone else or model yourself after something someone has done, or compare yourself to others. But I think from a young age, that's an important thing, is you have to do things that you really love, because you can't consider what everyone else thinks, even though it's hard to do that, especially kids in my generation, because there's so many expectations to go to a 4-year college, and it's just kind of a mold society lays out for kids my age. So I think the way to combat that is definitely just be yourself and be courageous in expressing your own thoughts and beliefs, because life's too short not to, I guess. So.
Yeah, you make a really good point. And I've worked with a lot of teens. I have a nonprofit called One Earth Writing that brings teens together in writing workshops, and they're from different races, religions, and socioeconomic origins. And it surprised me when I first started a couple of years ago, and I'm the mom of teens, so I have 4 teens of my own, but it surprised me to hear from teens that they were afraid most of growing up. And I mean, I never felt that way when I was a kid. I couldn't wait to get out there and take the world by storm. But what I was hearing is that the expectations for test scores and which university to go to and which career to take and how much of a salary you should earn was just so overwhelming that a lot of kids were just sort of paralyzed by fear. Do you find that among teens today, or?
Yeah, I think that's for sure, especially with, this being my last day of high school. That's something that I experienced a lot of among my classmates, is no one wants to leave. No one wants to grow up. Huh. And, I think that's not super rare, but I think for sure the expectations of test scores and, everyone molding your career and what do you want to be, everyone expects you, your senior year of high school, to know exactly what you want to be when you grow up and what you're going to do. And that's something that really appealed me to the education at U of M and the option to do a lot of different things through business in LS&A. And I think no one should ever be ashamed of not knowing what they want to do, because, in reality, there's adults that still don't know what they want to do with their life. And I think, that's nothing to bash on people about, but I think you have to just not be so scared about those expectations, because there's a lot of time to figure out what you want to do.
I couldn't agree more. It's interesting, and I'm sorry that kids today are growing up with that pressure and that stress, but I tell my kids all the time, you don't have to know. And frankly, I'm doing this career now, which is an evolution from where I started in journalism. But, my next pivot might be to own a bakery one day, or, who knows? And I think that's the fun of life, is that you get to do whatever you want and try new things, no matter how old you are. So, you don't have to know now, and I'm sure whatever you go on to do will be fantastic, and I'm going to be watching. So I just want to thank you, Jackson Riegler, for being here today and chatting with me about how we make meaning. And I'd love our listeners to check out Oshki merchandise, which they can find at oshki.us, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you very much for having me on, Lynn. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good luck and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Take care.